everyone, this is Amanda from devotioninaction.com, and I am so excited to be bringing to you another process video. Here are ones from Ephesians 1 with the tip-in that tells what God says I am, then Ephesians 2, part of the team, and now we're on the back side of that tip-in, full page tip-in, and it was freezer paper, and I didn't anticipate the shininess of the paper, how that would affect me doing the Bible art journaling on the back of it. So just to make sure, I'm adding some gesso, prepping the page a little bit to make sure that the paint will stick to it, that everything didn't just slide right on off or be difficult to work with on the slick back of the freezer paper. I'm using Art Basics gesso, clear gesso. It goes on white, it dries clear, and my heat gun just to dry it because I'm impatient. Yeah, when you let it sit, it will dry in the air, but it takes a while. So I did 2 coats of it just on this, and now I'm just taking a pencil and I'm drawing a mangrove tree, because in our devotional we talked about how we as Christians need to be like mangrove trees. They continually put down roots into the water on the edge of the shore, on the edge of the river, on the edge of the ocean, and they dig deep into the soil in that water. And that's kind of like the way that we're supposed to put down roots into God's love. It says in Ephesians 3, in verse 17, it says, "So that Christ may dwell in your hearts through faith, that you, being rooted and grounded in love, may have strength to comprehend with all the saints what is the breadth and length and height and depth, and to know the love of Christ that surpasses knowledge, that you may be filled with all the fullness of God." And so putting down those roots into the love of God, and really digging deep into who He is and what He says about us, that can give us the foundation to withstand the storms of life. We talked about in the devotional how those mangrove trees, when they have that root system down into the depths of the soil, it anchors them. And as a community of mangrove trees, a grove of mangrove trees on the edge of the shoreline can withstand incredible wind strength and speed, tsunamis and tempests that just rage from the ocean into the land. And those trees will hold firm. And another thing that they do is that they allow soil and little creatures and shells to build up within their root system, and they actually create more land for more mangrove trees to spring up, which is pretty cool, because as Christians, we're always supposed to be drawing new Christians into the fold, telling others about the amazing work of Jesus on the cross and how He rose from the dead for us and God's love for us, and drawing other people to put down roots into God's love. So being a light that shines is kind of what I was going for with those lanterns hanging in the trees. So that was all drawn in pencil, and then I went over it in black micron pen. And now you're seeing me playing with my toys that I got for Mother's Day. My husband and my kids got me a set of acrylic paints and this tray for mixing and putting out onto. So it closes up, which is really nice. I can just put it away for a little bit and come back to it. But so now I'm just going to fill in, and I actually really I didn't know, I haven't worked a ton with acrylics actually with painting. I've worked more with watercolors and things like that, but I really liked how the leaves came out. I wasn't incredibly happy with how everything came out when I was painting, but the different greens and the leaves of the tree I really liked, which honestly was the thing that intimidated me kind of the most about this whole Bible art journaling entry, was I couldn't figure out what I was going to do with the leaves, and then it ended up being my favorite part. So that just goes to show you the thing that you're scared of sometimes ends up being the best thing of all. So little encouragement to take action on the things that scare you and take a risk, step out there, because sometimes it can turn out to be really great. So so the leaves, I'm using a whole bunch of different greens, a little bit of bluish, a little bit of yellowish mixed in to some of them, some bright green, some dark green, and just going in and I'm basically just daubing it on there. there is no rhyme or reason to how I put the paint on there. I just kind of wiggled my brush around on there and it turned out really great. So acrylics are very forgiving for us non-artists. They will just kind of work. So I encourage anybody who is a little scared to try them out. Just jump in because it's really a lot of fun and you don't have to be a fantastic artist to work with them. So now I'm just bringing on the brown of the bark here and going down those roots. And I chose to put little hearts at the bottom of the roots because I felt like we're really digging deep into God's love, and that shows that we're rooted and grounded in love. And our title of this devotional study was Put Down Roots and Shine. It's like we're putting down our roots into God's love, but then we don't just bask in his love and dig deep into it. The purpose is that we would be a light that shines to others and that we would have a strong foundation when storms of life come. So I've got those lanterns hanging in the branches of my tree, and kind of in my mind's eye, I see a whole grove of mangrove trees just covering the shoreline, and they're all lit and twinkling and shining so that it shines the way for others to join in and become a part of that community. So that's kind of where my mindset was. It's kind of a whimsical drawing. The flames are hearts in all of the lanterns and light bulbs in the shine word. The word art is just kind of, I don't know. I just kind of put it out there, bubble letters and swirlies on the word roots. It's nothing fancy. I was just playing around with it, and I kind of like how it turned out. That's pretty nice. So you are obviously seeing on this whole video, you're seeing this hugely sped up, because when I'm Bible art journaling, especially on a bigger project page kind of like this, I just kind of take my time and enjoy it, reflect on God's word, which is really what this is all about. It's about spending time in God's word, spending time with him, and really making his word a part of us. And the more we interact with it, the more we create around it and in it, the more that becomes a part of who we are in our everyday life. And when we do live our lives, that becomes a part of what we're actually doing. So that when difficult things come, I can cast back my mind and say, and remember that my roots go deep into God's love. And a difficult thing or a storm does not mean that he has moved away from me. It means that he's given me a foundation that can withstand that storm and that can withstand those problems. And he is right there holding me in place, holding me and supporting me and making sure that I don't fall over, that I am not destroyed by the tempest, but that I can overcome. And that even more than just overcoming personally, I can be a light and I can be someone who accomplishes great things for the kingdom, even when it feels like to me that might be an impossibility or that things might be too overwhelming. But God works through us and in us, and that is such a great thing. In this study of Ephesians, I'm really loving hearing what God has been revealing to me, and other people that I talk to about Ephesians, they're just loving digging into this and really seeing what God says to them through this wonderful little book. It's so neat to see that God has action for all of us to take. He has a mission for my life and for yours, and it's unique to us, and he wants to work through us. What you just saw me doing there was adding a little bit of dark patches to the bark. I didn't want it to look too one-dimensional. I wanted to add some shadowing. I'm still not great at that because, like I've told you guys before, I'm not an artist. I am someone who heard about Bible art journaling, saw it, and thought, that looks like a really cool way to interact with God's word. And so I wanted to learn a little bit more about art. My husband said before I started this whole process, my stick figures didn't even look like stick figures. I started watching some YouTube tutorials, started looking at things and just trying to draw them, got myself a sketchbook and some pencils, and started trying to work on it. So you are seeing real amateur work here, but I do like when there's more than one color in things. It adds some dimension, some shading, and I'm not great at it, but I do try. And so I encourage anybody to just go ahead and give it a try. It's not going to hurt anything, and this is all about spending time with God anyway. So I'm impatient, so I'm just shooting that whole acrylic work there with the heat gun and getting it pretty dry. I'm still going to let it sit out overnight, and just because there's so many layers of it on there. So here it is, put down roots and shine. I'm just writing in there Ephesians 3, and then I'm going to date the page because I think it's really cool to look back and see what God was telling me when he was telling it to me, and then I can think about what was going on in my life at that point, and how timely God's word is. It seems like every time I'm going through something new comes out of God's word at me. So I hope you enjoyed this process video. I will put some links in the comments, and I hope that you like, comment, share, and come check out devotioninaction.com.